You guys hear me okay? Good? Okay. All right. So first step is obviously going to be getting our paper taped down. And so what I'm going to do is obviously use my straight edge, use my parallel edge. I've already got tape cut off. Just pick some sort of spot towards the middle of the paper. One thing you don't want to do is you don't want to jam your parallel rule all the way down and then start your paper. I like to bring it up just a little bit, get it started like right in this area. It's mostly centered. And then take our tape. We're going to get this divided up into 4 little sections, get this piece of paper taped down. Make sure we're holding it nice and tight to our parallel edge. I tend to like to scrub these down just a little bit. Grab my other top view or my other top corner. Okay, lift this just a little bit, bring it over top of this. I think somebody, yes. Uh, Take notes during today. I'm going to record this anyways, and what I'll do is today's Friday. I will get a drafting board at the school set up for you. Are you able to get over to the school to pick one up? Okay. If you're able to get over there today, even I can have it. I can have somebody get it ready for you today. Um, Anywhere. Oh wait. Let me send you a message because I've got to ask because today's a half. Well, you know what? I would say anytime, like if you can get there right after class ends, because class ends early today. You guys end at like what 12:20 or something. So if you how soon after 12:20 could you get there? So you can get there right before practice. Awesome. I will align that and I'll send you a message as soon as I confirm it. Perfect. All right. Okay, guys. So what I'm doing now is I got my paper taped down. It's parallel to the bottom edge of my parallel edge, and my first goal is I'm going to start pulling in my border, and then I'm going to pull in this secondary box, which is our title block. So I'm just going to use my ruler side of my scale. I'm going to try to do everything in pencil. If you guys can't see it, I'm going to go darker, but I'm going to try to use pencil. I don't like using pen. It gets all everywhere. So I'm coming in off this edge at 1/2 of an inch, and I'm just going to put a little dot. Okay. So I got a little marker at 1/2 inch. I'm going to do the same thing at this end. Um, you'll see me measure from any spot on the ruler. I don't really pay attention to what the number says. I'm just grabbing a whole number and then coming in a 1/2 inch. If you're still trying to figure out the ruler, you can put it at 1/2 inch and measure to 0. It doesn't really make that big of a difference. So I'm going to put a little dot there at 0. So now I've got a dot here. I've got a dot here. That's going to establish my verticals. So I'm going to take this back. I'm going to grab my triangle. I'm going to use a shorter triangle because I know you guys only have shorter triangles. So what I do for this, I got a pole. I know you guys can't see it, but my pole for my camera is right here. So holding the pencil when I'm a lefty is weird. So I put the pencil tip on the dot, slide the tool into it. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to draw this light for now. And the reason why I'm going to draw this light is I don't want it to go too far up and then I have to erase out a corner. So I'm going to slide this down, continue this line down the rest of the way. Can you guys see that line okay? that vertical line? Should I go a little bit darker for you guys? Somebody, if, if you press the pin, you can see it? Okay. All right. So there we go, guys. I'd recommend hitting the pin, as Dave said. Let me make sure that I'm transmitting in high def. I'm going to put mine as high def, and there is a setting. Don't forget that setting. It's under the triple dots under video receive resolution, and you can say receive under high def, and then you might be able to get it a little bit clearer, but we'll see if that works for you. I'm transmitting in high def, so it should work. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I've got my little dot. I'm going to put my pencil on the dot. I'm going to go ahead and draw it a little bit darker. I hate drawing dark, but I'm going to do it to help with the demonstrations. Okay, so there we go. I've got my vertical. I'm assuming you can see this one a little bit better than you can the left one. All right. So my next step is I'm going to measure down a 1/2 inch. I'm going to measure up a 1/2 inch. Actually, on the bottom, I'm going to measure a 1/2 plus a 1/2. The top, I'm just going to measure 1/2 down. And again, guys, it's one of these things where, I like to use the triangle against the parallel edge to make sure that I'm holding my ruler nice and straight. And then I just line the ruler up. I'm going to use the 2-inch mark. And then I'm just going to come down a 1/2 inch off of that, give myself a nice little dot. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing down here. I'm going to use my ruler, slide in. And again, it doesn't really matter what mark on the ruler I'm using. I'm using 12 inches in this case. And I'm going to switch hands here because I'm a lefty. But I'm going to put a little mark at 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to put a little mark at the 1-inch mark. Or in this case, the 11-inch mark, right? Okay. Now my next step, I'm going to clear my board because I'm going to be using my my parallel edge only. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the bottom side of my parallel edge. I'm going to bring my pencil tip on my mark, bring the parallel edge into my pencil tip, and I'm going to go ahead and strike that line. Next line up. Strike that line, and then last but not least for the border, okay, so there we go. I put my 1/2 inch from the top edge, 1/2 inch from the bottom edge, 1/2 inch from that, and now that I know where these are going to end, I can actually go back in and redarken these lines. So I'm going to kind of just reline up everything and kind of restrike these, make these a nice bold border line. And I'm just taking it down to the bottom. Repeat on the other side. All right, not perfect, but you guys can hopefully see that border really nicely. And now I've got basically my drawing. I've got my border. So now I've got an issue that I've got to tend to. And I don't know if you guys can tell me what this issue is going to be, but my issue is going to be I've got to get a line drawn from corner to corner. And as you can see here, I got a problem with this. My ruler isn't long enough. So what I would suggest is quite simply combining two tools, and hopefully you guys have enough length to make this work. But you should have a ruler. Actually, you know what? You guys have two scales, correct? Did I send you home with an engineering scale as well? So what you can actually do is you can butt your two scales together, if this makes sense, right? So you're butting these two together. You're going to use the inside, the top side of this one and the bottom side of this one, and you can see here that I'm going to pretty much just line that corner up down here, right? And then I'm going to line that corner up there. If you guys can see what I'm trying to do here, I'm trying not to get my hands in the way. See if I can let go of those. That's what I'm trying to do. So I took the two rulers and kind of put them together, and the more overlap you have, the easier it is, right? So I can actually overlap them a good bit. So I'm lining it up on this corner. I'm lining it up on this corner, and I'm swinging this one until I line it up on that upper corner up here. Once I have that, I'm just going to hold this in place, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to strike a very light little line across there. And again, I don't know if hopefully you guys can see that. All right. And now my next step is I'm going to do the same thing going the other direction. I'm just going to line these two rulers up together. I'm going to use the bottom side of this one and the top side of this one. I'm getting that corner, and I'm getting that corner up there. I don't know if you guys can see that again. Okay, so I've got this corner and I've got this corner. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this ruler down because I want this line, right? We know where that line is. I want that line right there. So I just move this one out of the way, strike that line there. Can you guys see my X there? Okay, thank you guys. All right, did that make sense combining the two rulers to get me the length I needed? And I think yeah, I'm going to call out Alana. Alana, I know you have like a long metal ruler, right? So you can literally just go from corner to corner. I don't have one of those. Actually, I do, but I didn't want to use it because I didn't want to cheat. I'm trying to use what you guys have. So, but yeah, that's okay. That's okay. So I just, we can combine these two rulers or these two scales. We can make these match up. Hold this one. Strike our line. It works, right? It's not the best solution, but it definitely does what we're trying to do. So I went this edge to that edge. I'm going to hold this one in place, move this out of the way, strike my line, and I've got my X. Okay? So for our next two steps, we've got to take our bounding box, and we're going to center up our bounding box on this piece of paper, okay? Just like we did back here when we did this drawing, we had our X drawn, which was right here. We knew our bounding box was, I think it was 4.5 by 4.5. So we basically split it. And this is where your scrap paper is going to come in handy. So again, guys, it doesn't matter what your scrap paper is. It can be anything. I know that my bounding box for this particular object that I'm drawing, my bounding box is equal to 11 inches wide by, and this is going to be an X for you. I don't know what your bounding box height is. Mine happens to be 9 inches. Okay? So I'm going to show you guys how to do the width. Everybody in the class, you can do the width with me. To go to do the height, you're going to do your own height based on your own math that you figured out yesterday, okay? So I'm going to take 11, and basically I'm taking 11 and I'm dividing it by 2. I'm going to end up with 5 1/2 of an inch, okay? So I'm going to come off of this point over 5.5 inches, over 5.5 inches, and I'm going to have my two vertical lines for my bounding box. And the way that I'm going to do that is quite simply, I'm going to use my scale. I'm going to put it against my parallel edge. I'm going to slide my parallel edge up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat it a little bit. My 5.5 inch mark on my ruler, I'm going to put that at the center of that X. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark it 0 with a little line, and I'm going to mark it 11 with a little line. Okay, so I put my 5.5 inch mark, which was this number right here. I put my 5.5 inch mark on the center of the X. I marked over to 0, and I marked over to 11. So now I know that the distance between those two dots is 11 inches. I can go ahead and grab my triangle, and I'm going to go ahead and strike a vertical line on this. And again, I'm going to go darker so that you guys can see it. You guys need to make sure that you're doing these things as really, really light lines. Okay, so I've got that vertical, and I'm going to grab this vertical. And I know they're not going to be tall enough, but they're going to be close for now. And the reason why I know they're not going to be tall enough is my bounding box height is 9 inches, and I know that this tool is only 8 inches tall. So I know my bounding box isn't going to quite be big enough, but I'll extend it out when I get there. My next step is to take my 9-inch vertical, and I'm going to divide that by 2. So I'm going to have my 9-inch from my bounding box, divide by 2 equals 4.5 inches. And kind of the same thing, but I'm going to do this in a vertical application. So I'm going to put my ruler here. I'm going to put my parallel edge somewhere, put my triangle against it. I'm going to slide my 4.5 inch mark and get it right on that center X. And I'm going to put a mark at 0. And I'm going to put a mark at 9. Okay, so I got a mark at 9, a mark at 0, and I put my ruler on the 4.5 inch mark, because again, going back to this, my 4.5 inch mark was my center point. So I've got my 2 marks here and here. Get rid of my little scrap paper. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and draw my horizontal across here. Slide up. Grab my horizontal across here. And I'm going to extend these lines up because you can see I got a gap here and a gap here. So I'm just going to take the quick second to extend that, slide this down. Yes, so what is your height, just for an example? What is your bounding box? Your whole bounding box is 4 inches tall? Oh, okay. Okay, so let's do yours as an example. Let me grab a sheet of paper. Hold on. Okay, so one thing that's going to be consistent, actually 2 things that are going to be consistent with everybody in the class, right? So if we remember, guys, these things don't have to be pretty, okay? So I know that there's going to be a top view here. I know that there's going to be a front view here, and that there's going to be a side view here, right? So what I automatically know is that this top view, for everybody in the class, there's some consistent things, right? This top view is 10 inches by 10 inches, right? And if you want, you can draw these in a little bit more realistic, right? This is our grid, right? This is our side view. Right? And then, or I'm sorry, this is our front view rather. And then our side view is going to be whatever it is, right? It might be something like this. Doesn't really make that big of a difference. All right, so Alana, you're telling me that yours is 4 inches here? Okay, so what we do know is we know that we want to maintain 1 inch, and we're going to call this, I want to make sure that I explain scale real quick, okay? And the scale of this is going to be 1/2 inch equals 1 inch. So essentially we're cutting all of the dimensions in half. And what I want to do here is I want to make sure that you guys understand 1/2 inch on paper equals 1 inch, and I think I said this yesterday. Isn't IRL a real thing? Isn't that like an abbreviation you guys chat? Okay, so you guys know what that means, right? Right, in real life? Okay, so we're going 1/2 inch on paper equals 1 inch in real life. So what I know is that I want this to be 1 inch in real life. This is going to get split in half. So we're just going to simply divide this by 2. We're simply going to divide this by 2. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add up those. So in this case, you're going to have an 8-inch tall bounding box. Okay? What I can tell for the entire class, and I'm going to give you guys more than half of your answers. Okay? This is 10 inches. This is 10 inches. This one here is always going to be 1 inch in real life, so I'm circling it. This one's going to be 5 for everybody in the class. This one's going to be 5 for everyone in the class. So everyone in the class is going to have an 11-inch wide. This is your only variable. I don't know what that number is for everybody. So you guys just have to fill that in, divide it by 2, and then add it. Does that make sense, Alana? You're welcome. So, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and extend out the rest of these 2 bounding boxes for mine. Bring this, drop my scale. Bring that down the rest of the way. Okay, so I've got my bounding box. All right, and our objective for today is, number 1, to get the bounding box in like I have. I know you guys probably aren't quite there yet, but you're probably trying to work on it in the background. The 2 other things that I'm trying to do, most importantly, I want to get my front view drawn in, okay? So, again, what I like to do, to be quite honest with you, I like to use a scrap piece of paper. And what I typically do is I do my rough draft on a scrap piece of paper. So I know that this thing is going to look like this, okay? And I know that this is, again, 10 inches in real life, and so I'm dividing that by 2, so I know it's going to be 5 inches, okay? I'm going to do the rest of the math in my head. I'm not going to keep writing it as full and then divide. So I know that this is 5 inches coming down the other side. And then I know I have a grid, right? And we did this grid, and I'm not drawing the right amount of lines because I really don't care. It's just a rough draft. These are 1 inch apart in real life, so I'm dividing those, right? So again, these are going to be a 1/2 inch apart. They're just going to be 1/2 inches all the way across. 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2. That's going to equal up to 5. Now, coming up the y-axis, I've got a bunch of lines that were a lot closer, right? Our grid was denser going in the vertical direction. And again, in real life, we had 1/2 inch, so I'm just simply going to divide this, and I know that that's going to be 1/4 inch. So it's going to be quarter, 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 right? And I'm going to go 1/4 inches all the way up the vertical dimension. Now, what I do know is I know that this point right here on my green sheet, the upper left-hand corner of my bounding box, is that point right there. So what I'm going to start with is I'm going to start here, and I've got multiple ways I could do this. One, I could draw my 5x5 box and then come back in and add in my lines. Or I could just set my ruler here and go 1/2 inch, 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 until I get up to 5 inches. And that's the way that I'm going to do it, because I think that will save me a step. And anytime you can save a step, we really haven't gotten into this yet, but architecture is all about billable hours. And so if I can start cutting out little steps here and there, even on a drafting project such as the one that we're working on, the more steps I can cut out, it basically is less, it reduces the amount of time it's going to take me. So I'm going to go ahead and start here. So I'm putting my ruler at 5 because I'm using the bottom side of my parallel edge. Again, if you feel more comfortable working on the top side, hold it below, put it on the top side, line up your 0, and put a mark every ½ inch. Normally, that's a good way of doing it when you can stand up and hover over your drafting board. Unfortunately, if I stand up, I'm going to hit this. So I'm working from the bottom side. So I'm going to put my ruler at 5, and I'm going to start marking every ½ inch. So I'm going to go ½ inch, 4 inch, 3½, 3, 2½, 2, 1 1/2, 1 inch, ½ inch, and ultimately 0. Okay? So I know you guys can't really see that, but I got to mark here, 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 and here. Okay? So, quite simply, go ahead. I'm sorry. So it really depends on which way you're holding your ruler. I started it at 5 because I know that ultimately it's going to be 5. So what I did was I just went every ½ inch because I'm using the bottom. If I were on this side of it, I would start at 0 and just put a ½ inch all the way until I hit the 5 inch mark. And you can see that it's the same, right? Hopefully you can see those little dots. But yeah, it just depends which way you're holding your ruler. You're welcome. All right, so I've got my verticals. Now what I can do is I'm going to start setting in or I've got these are going to equal my verticals. It's my horizontal measurements that equal my vertical lines. Now I'm going to flip-flop the scenario. And I'm going to do from this top line, actually, you know what? Let's draw in these verticals first, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to get approximately 5 inches. I'm going to go a little bit longer just so I can shoot them through. I just want to show you what we've essentially done so far. And again, guys, I'm doing this extra dark. You guys should be doing this really light. Okay, so I'm just going to do mine really short just to show you what those measurements are equal to. You guys don't have to do this step. I just want to show you what we actually did with those measurements. So we've drawn that vertical grid. And I was looking for, I don't know what I did with it. Doesn't matter. I've done these. Okay? Now what I'm looking at is I want to start marking in my vertical measurements that are going to equal my horizontal lines. And they're a 1/4 inch apart. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scale, or my triangle rather, flip it this way. I'm going to take my scale, and this time I'm going to put my 0 mark. I'm a lefty. I've got to switch it around. Otherwise, I'll struggle. All right. Again, it doesn't really matter where it doesn't matter what number I'm using. In this case, I'm going to use my triangle up against my parallel edge. I'm going to go ahead and use my, I'm running out of sharp pencils here. All right, so I've got my parallel edge set at the top. I've jammed my triangle into it, and I'm just going to I'm going to put my 12 right at the top line. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark every 1/4 of an inch. So I'm just going to go here, 1/4, half, 3/4, whole, 1/4, half. And this is really hard, guys, because I don't know if you guys can see, but like my camera is right here and I can't really hover over my ruler. 1/4, half. Okay. So I'm going to continue going down this every 1/4 inch. 1/4, half, 3/4, whole. 1/4. Oh, missed that one. 1/4, half, 3/4, whole. 1/4, half, 3/4, whole. 1/4, half. Oh, I went too far. Anyways, you're only going down to, you only make it at 5 inches tall. So I'm going from 12 to 7. So I should have 19 dots, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 dots. Is that right? Just verify. Yep, 20 dots. My bad. Okay, so what I know now is that's my bottom horizontal line of my box. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start there, and I'm going to put my ruler on the dot, put my pencil on the dot, slide my parallel edge in, and this one here is going to kind of be like my defining edge, and I'm going to extend this one down. Okay? And I'm going to clean up this corner right now just because I'm here. So this is my defined top view. And guys, when you draw these grid lines, I want you to draw these grid lines literally as light as you can possibly draw them and still be able to see them. Because the grid is just going to help you place your lines, boxes, and rectangles. For my example, obviously, like we've discussed 1.5 million times, I've got to draw them dark, otherwise you guys can't see them. You guys are drawing them extremely light, but what I want you guys to see is we basically have measured out our entire grid for our top view. So all those little vertical dots that we measured are equaling our horizontal grid lines. And even the dots you guys drew should be super, super light. Two more. One more. One more. Last one. And then I'm going to take and obviously extend out all of my vertical grid lines as well. And keep reminding yourself, light, light, light on the marks, okay? So I'm carrying all of these straight down. Okay, so there we go. We've got, God, this it's so ugly because I have to draw so hard. Again, I'm so used to going really, really, really super light. And it doesn't burn your pencil tip out nearly as much when you're trying to go super light. So this is where you guys should be at. We should have, I'm sorry, not right this second, but obviously before you guys come back on Monday, this is essentially where you guys should be at, right? So we are having our upper left-hand corner in this spot. We've drawn our 5" by 5" with our 1" grid, or our ½ grid, and our 1/4" grid, because this is exactly half the scale of our original. And if you have, let's see here, if you have this, you should be able to pretty much tell that this is literally a ½ reduction, or a half reduction of a 50% reduction of this particular sheet. And if I line it up here, you'll see it's at my halfway point. And if I line it up here, it's, at my halfway point. So this should get us in our right spot. Other than that, guys, it is 9:15. Reminder. Hold on a second. I need to talk to you guys. Let me stop my recording real quick. I'm going to hold you just for 1 extra minute or 2 extra minutes.